All these people in their friggin' boats. We ain't the only ones going fishing today. You have yourself a Z21 and a Z8 right here, right in front. Oh, it's a 6-pounder!
Hell yeah, man. Almost a 10-7.
You! 46. Enjoy it! Thanks, buddy.
What's up, guys? This is Connery from Out of Work Outdoors, and this is I did kill it. It's been a long time since we got to do this guy. But today we decided to do a how to get into kayak fishing, and especially kayak fishing tournaments. Okay, so we've been doing it. We've owned kayaks for, well, he has owned a kayak for 2 years now. I'm on my first year. And we've actually fished one complete season. So this knowledge is very fresh, and this is 2016 going into 2017. So if you're watching this video a couple years back, then we will have updates as the years progress. But anyhow, we wanted to kind of get you guys some ideas on what we've been exposed to and kind of some basic rules for the world of kayaking or kayak fishing, especially for tournaments. And I did all right my first year. I came in 6th place out of 42 people in our circuit. And the guys who don't understand a circuit is basically you have a club that you fish with, and about every month you fish a different lake. So that's a circuit. And I think we had 5 last year, five different lakes, 5 stops.
Well, in our circuit, we have 2 join and 2 that were away, which is in the other circuit, right, and 2 that are in our circuit. Because we are Northeast Division, and we also join with the Central Division of Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're from Oklahoma, for you guys are asking. And so basically, you have these tournaments that go around, and you, it's free to join, okay, so that's the other thing, that's cool. And you have to pay an admission or entry fee at the event. And as you fish from location to location throughout the year, depending on how you finish in each event, you're given these points. And these points are called angler points. And whoever has the most amount of points at the end of the year, they are crowned the angler of the year for that circuit. That's a pretty cool title to have. And 2016,
I took it home.
He took it home. So that's pretty cool. And then obviously after these series of events, in our state there's a championship round where the top 10 and the top 10 from this and the top 10 from that are invited. So you go from an open event where anybody with money who just wants to go fish can fish to an invite only event. And once again, we that was a state championship in Oklahoma. And once again,
I took it home again.
You took it home again too. So that's the kind of experience we have. And after that event, we actually fished a national event. It was held out in Lake Fork, Texas. And we went there. Wasn't really planning on going, but made like the last minute decision to go. And I ended up finishing 13th place out of 122. 123, and he finished 20. So the both of us, we ended up in the top 20. So that was pretty cool. I didn't even think we could really finish up that high, to kind of fish against the caliber of the national guys. So that's the kind of background we have. But back to the beginning, how to get started in the world of kayaking. One is you gotta have a kayak. Okay, so from the both of us, we have what you would call the battleship, battleship or the flagship kayak. It's the biggest, baddest kayak you can get. It's also the most expensive. Retail is probably $3,000 to $3,500 new.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, now for a 2017 model. Of course, there's a lot of upgrades on it that our model doesn't have, but you have a 2012?
Yeah, 2012 Hobie PA 14.
Yeah, Hobie Pro Angler 14.
Yeah.
PA's shortened up. I have a 2014 model, and we both pretty much bought ours either used or at a severely discounted price. So we still paid over $2,000 for ours, which is a pretty good deal for any pro angler. Good place to find these kayaks is on Craigslist or on the Facebook groups. Kayak, just search kayak in your state, and more than likely there's going to be a group that pops up. And that's another good thing. Those are at least in our state, those are the main ways of communicating with these guys. It's primarily through the Facebook groups. So that's one thing. First thing is you gotta have a kayak. We opted to go with the best kayak because, one, I made a decision for myself that if I was ever getting into a kayak, I wanted a pedal. And you guys can do your own research in that. You have your paddle and you have your foot pedal. So that's a different discussion for a different day. But I wanted that style kayak, and that's what I went with. But we have a lot of friends that do very well with very budgeted kayaks. Something that you can pick. You could buy brand new at Bass Pro Shops for $800-900. So look at some of the prices and buy what fits you.
Yeah, and best thing is always try to get a kayak around that $1,000 range. If you can, if you buy it from Craigslist, try to meet somewhere at the water so you could get a feel for it and see if you like it or not. And if you could try it out before you buy it and just feel out for the kayak, because not every kayak is built to for you to stand on, or for you to for us we walk back and forth around kayak, but not every kayak can stand on. Some kayaks are unstable, so you can't really turn around your flip already.
Right.
So you gotta kind of have a feel for the kayak and see if you like it or not. And there's kayaks that you can stand, there's kayaks you can't stand. Mm-hmm. There's kayak you sit in, and there's kayak you sit on top. And there's some with chairs. So you gotta see what kind of equipment you're bringing along with you, like fishing poles, right, tackle boxes, nets, maybe fish finder, battery, all the wiring stuff, maybe even camera gear and stuff like that too.
Which is what we bring, camera gear.
So you gotta see if that kayak will hold all your equipment too. It's not just you or your fishing poles and stuff. So
right. That's a good point, actually. Your maximum weight you plan to bring with you. I'll give you an idea. When we first started fishing, we carried 2 rods. Now, our fully decked out kayaks, I carry 6 or 7 rods. An entire backpack full of lures that probably weigh about 30 pounds by itself. And it gets pretty hectic. So we'll have those videos coming up next, because I have to rig up my kayak for the 2017 season. So we'll get into that too. So pick a kayak that's in your budget that you can forecast you using it for certain things. So keep that in mind. In terms of the kayak itself, most circuits say you have to have a kayak. You can't have a John boat, a Scamp. You can't have paddle boards.
Yeah.
You can't have paddle boards. A lot of the kayaks say it's 1 person per kayak too, so you can't have any of those
2-person kayak.
2-person kayaks, something like that. And a lot of circuits now might allow trolling motors, but majority of them still don't for 2017. So kind of look at those rules too, because that will kind of dictate what kind of kayak you want to get to. Of course, again, depending on your budget. So that's the kayak side of it. On the safety side, there's a whistle that you should have, and that's all your Coast Guard kind of requirements. But a life jacket, must have, and a 360 light is a must have, and it's required for most tournaments because we do launch right at sunrise, so at that time it is still kind of required by law to have the light. And then plus the safety thing, so you don't want to get run over by these bass boats that are doing 70 miles an hour down a big lake. So it's a requirement for you to have it. In terms of the life jacket, you could go with the traditional, big foam ones, or you can go with the inflatable ones. And just from experience, go with the inflatables, because if you put that on, it seems like you're just wearing a vest, like a little light vest, compared to like what looks like military body armor, you know. So you're more likely to wear it if you get an inflatable. The prices are a little bit higher, but I have one that I bought from Cabela's when it was on sale. They go for about $80 to $90. They're a pretty good price.
Alright.
So that's a recommendation I have for you guys in terms of safety gear, things like that. You want to talk to them about how to find these circuits, where to go find them, who to talk to?
Usually every state usually have some sort of kayak division, or depending on where you're from, you just gotta type in your state and just type in kayak fishing or kayak club, and it'll pull up a group or nearby states, and then it'll pull up a group, and then you just pretty much send a request, join the group, and then usually the group will post up events. You just gotta join the events if you can make them, and then just figure out who's running it, and then get yourself more informed about the group themselves.
Right.
And get involved. Like, you get involved. You go to the meetings. You show up early, and you register and stuff like that. And then go talk to other anglers out there, see what they do, and get yourself involved into the sport, not just go and fish.
Yeah. And but that's if you want to join a local circuit. Now there's many other tournaments that happen without the circuit. And a good example is a website called tourneyx.com. That is a website where events are just hosted, say like for charity events or for fundraiser events, things like that. They're usually hosted on that website, and basically you go on there, you create an angler account. There's a free and a paid version, just test things out, go with the free. And then there's a big list of tournaments that are currently running, tournaments that are closed or archived, and you can look at the tournament results and see how good some fisheries are and what to expect if you ever actually go and fish there. And there's also contact information to the tournament director who's there. You can always call him, get the fine details if you have any questions about anything. And there's a lot of things that goes on, like you have the circuits, which pretty much dictate where you can fish. Like, for example, today we're fishing on Lake X, right? You could only fish on Lake X. You must launch from this boat launch. That could be like the tournament rules for that day. Where on the online tournaments, a lot of them will do something like, okay, you can fish on this lake, or you can fish in the state. Okay, as long as it's public water. Public water usually is defined as there's a public ramp on there that anybody can get on to that piece of water. So, like, for example, once again, a lake, a river. That's a good example. A bad example would be like a farm pond. That's a bad example because it's on private property. So that's an idea for you guys. There's another app called iAngler that also a lot of tournaments are hosted on, where you take a picture of your fish. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I'll have you talk about that later on how fish are scored. Okay, but iAngler is another app. You go, you sign in, and you take a picture of your fish, and it uploads directly to the cell towers, and they beam it over to the server that keeps a picture of your fish, and they're judged that way. So that's another cool one. So you have TourneyX, which is a website, and then you have iAngler, which is a mobile app for Android and for iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of a tournament structure. There's a lot of fine print that you have to go and watch, and there's a lot of identifiers. Talk about identifiers and talk about the hog trough. Because the hog trough currently, right now, is our standard way of measurement. So I'll let him talk more about it.
So our fish are scored by lengths, not weight, like bass boats and stuff. They go by weight. Ours is scored on length. So once you catch a fish, you have to put on this measuring board called the hog trough. And most rules have the fish belly towards your belly, and the fish head to the left, slide all the way forward with the mouth closed. Most rules right now, you can't pinch the tails. Some of them still allow pinching tails. And with the new rules of 2017, I think pinching the tail is already off. The tail has to lay naturally. I mean, you could pinch it as long as you let go and not holding the tail pinch.
Yeah.
Then it should be good.
The main thing about the taking the picture is very critical because you got disqualified because you at the national tournament he got one of his fishes disqualified because the identifier wasn't there. The identifier is something that they use to prevent cheating. Okay, so depending on the event, you have to pay very, very close attention because if you're fishing in this state, their rules differ from another state. Or heck, one circuit to another circuit, or from one weekend to another weekend, it's going to be different. But an identifier basically is a code or a piece of paper or something that has to be in your picture to say that that picture was taken during that tournament.
That day. Yeah.
That day, that tournament, yeah. So they can say, oh yeah, he definitely took that picture that day, today. It wasn't yesterday, it wasn't the day before. Because the identifier changes every time you fish. So that's how they prevent it. So be very, very cautious of that stuff. Make sure it's in the picture. And if you don't have it, it's automatic disqualification. So you got to make sure you get all that. And that's something that I think I ran into earlier on in the spring too. But I was fishing a big bass tournament and only one fish counted. And that was actually on one of my smaller fish, which didn't matter. But I pretty much got myself disqualified for that. What else do we talk about?
Transportation?
Oh, yeah. Transportation. Okay.
Alright. Well, before you buy a kayak, you gotta know what you're gonna transport your kayak with. You need either like a roof rack, a truck, or trailer. That's what most guy does.
Yes.
So, we'll go with the roof rack. Usually, if you do a roof rack, your kayak can't be too big or too long. And so you could put it in light, so you could put it on top of the roof of your car. And then you go to a truck you could put it in the bed with a, what they call it, a T, like a T.
It's a hitch extension that goes out from the back of the truck and it goes up. And it's got like a T that goes across. And you basically put half the kayak in the bed of the truck and the part that's sticking out, it's just supported by this beam essentially. And it helps you like strap it down so it doesn't fall off.
And then also, if you do run a trailer, you should have spare tires for a trailer. You should have all your lights working so you don't get pulled over. And maybe in your state, you might even have to get your trailer registered. Maybe.
Right. Trailer and kayak, depending on what state you're in. Yeah. Oklahoma, we're pretty cool. We don't have registration for kayaks or trailers. But I know, for example, like I think Wisconsin and Minnesota, you gotta have your kayak registered, and I think you have to have your trailer registered as well. So keep that in mind, okay? Transportation of your kayak is it's when you're first getting into it, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but since we've been doing it a whole year now, launching and unlaunching a kayak is very time critical because when you're fishing a tournament, you have exactly 8 hours or exactly 6 hours, and you want to maximize your time on the water. So I found out that in beginning tournaments, we were coming into the ramps really early because we would have to load our kayaks. This is for a Roadrunner event, which is a little different. Well, let me explain that right now so everybody is up to date on that. A lot of events, they'll say, launch from Lake X, launch from boat ramp number 1, and there might be 20 boat ramps on the lake. Everybody has to launch from boat ramp number 1, so it's a shotgun takeoff is what they call it, where everybody basically lines up and one guy goes, all right, be back at 5, everybody takes off. And then you just have to come back at 5 to that exact same spot and you're good, you know. But there are other tournaments where they call it a Roadrunner event. Roadrunners are basically very loose in terms of where you can launch, as long as it's still a public event or a public launch site. Some of them have dedicated launch sites, some of them just say any public launch site. But basically, on those events, you might go to a meeting the night before, and then you just go fishing the next day. But you have to come back and check in by a certain time. So a lot of times in the beginning, we found that we were coming in an hour early just so we could launch or unload our kayaks, get it onto the truck, check in on time. And I think that was really cutting in on our fishing time, because a lot of times you catch your 5th fish or your last fish or a big fish, that kicker fish, 30 minutes right before deadline. So we definitely went with a trailer. And it wasn't just a regular trailer. I'll put the link here in the description so you guys can see what we've done. We've built a trailer that can basically carry 2 kayaks side by side without having to unload anything. So that cuts down a lot on time. We save about 30 minutes on average every time. And I think that I can remember one tournament where it did come in real handy. Yes. That one where you caught a fish. And I was screaming at you that we have to go, we have to go, we have to go.
Well, a little story time here. Yeah. So, that day I got 4 fish, and I need my 5th one. Yeah. And it's a 5-fish tournament. That was our open. Pretty much, our open is kind of like our AOY championship. It pretty much at the end of the tournament, it verified who is the best. Yes. So, I'm running up for Angler of the Year, and I'm like, I'm not going in until I catch my 5th fish. And that day, I lost like 4 big ones. So I get to the ramp, and I pull out my Senko. And Connery is already backing up the trailer into the water. I'm like, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So right at the boat ramp, there's, you know, where they usually have like a floating dock where you could come pick up people, or when you launch a boat. I threw my Senko in there, and nothing. So there's a floating dock right next to it with a little fishing dock or house thing too. So I threw over there, got a bite, a set, Senko came off, no fish. Put another Senko on really quick, skip it back under that dock, caught my 10-inch bass, which is for our kayak fishing, most regulation fish, you know, you could, you know, will count if it's 10-inch or more, not like
yes, it's not fishing. In the boat world, you have, in order to keep a fish in your possession, it must meet the minimum state legal requirements. So for our state, it's 14 inches for a bass. But in the kayak world, since you're catching it, taking a picture and releasing it, our minimum is only 10 inches.
So I caught exactly 10 inches. My 5th fish, exactly 10 inches, which gave me enough to get 2nd place in the tournament, and got my AOY for the year.
Right. So that's something that, as you evolve as an angler during the tournament scene, little things like that will make a big difference. So something to keep in mind if you continue to go on this tournament trail, because we do meet a lot of new guys that we never see them again. So tournament's not for them, and that's perfectly cool too if it's not. But for me, the tournament trail really tests your ability to catch fish, because we fish, say like for example, 2 weeks from now exactly, we're going to be fishing Lake Conway, and we pre-fished it last weekend, but that was 3 weeks out, and I don't plan to go back to that lake. And I'm going to have to show up that day regardless of the conditions, and I'm going to have to try to win, you know. And then I think that concept is really, really interesting, especially as it changes throughout the year. You go from cold water to hot water to cold water, and you have to kind of to be angler of the year, you have to be good at the entire season basically. And this guy did it last year, so if you want something to compare yourself to, compare yourself to this guy. He is the standard. Every year there's an angler of the year. Angler of the year should be the standard you compare yourself to every year. That's how you know if you're improving also. So, anything else?
Pretty blank.
Okay, well, thanks for watching. I hope you guys get a kick out of that. I mean, that's just kind of our experience for the first year. He did pull off a major win, and
I think,
yeah,
I'm planning to do some more GoPro footage.
Yes, you're planning to do more footage this year.
More kayak tournament fishing footage, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that. If this video helped you guys out, give us a like. We're gonna need it. And if you have friends that are not in the kayak world and they just need a good introduction to it, share this with them, tag them on it, whatever you gotta do. And if you have any questions, maybe about something that I might have left out, if you're confused about anything, in the comments, and we will do our best to help you out. All right. Once again, Connor from Out of Work Outdoors.
I've been killer from Out of Work Outdoors.
All right.
Can't talk tonight.
Cool. That works.
An A6500? Two A6500s. That's right. And an Acer R2. But this is the breakfast of champions right here. That right there is the good luck shit right there. Plus a little bit of Gatorade. QT sponsors. Yeah.
We stop by QT like every trip.
And look at this guy on the boat.
That's us in 3 years, man. We got dominated the kayak trails, and we got dominated the basketball trails.